Hey there to all my listeners tuning in today. Welcome to Fractured Poet, a podcast for all of you poetically insane individuals out there who love getting lost in the art of poetry. Podcasting from Ontario, California, I am your host, Katrina Wisniewski, just another person in the world obsessed with words, striving to make sense of it all. Okay, so today's episode is titled Down and Out, to which you can probably guess what type of poems I will be reading today. You can call it depressing or just simply refer to it as pensive. Either way, these poems have some massive thoughts weaving in and out of them. Some discuss life in its current state or describing life as some shitty thing, pondering thoughts, invading the brain, fear of life's next steps, or a topic equally relatable. So, without further ado, the first poem I will read for you is called This World of Mine. There is too much to learn in this world of mine. Things are complicated and complex, never knowing which direction to go in. Forgetting to remember what it was like to live a simple life, always being judged, unable to take a breath. So many unfamiliar things, so many different emotions, no longer able to sort out my feelings. I am lost in this world of mine. I suppose this poem is pretty self-explanatory. It's interesting to sit here and dissect our lives individually because the outcome of those thoughts will always differ from one person to the other. I guess this poem describes how difficult it is to get a grip on life. And when I say grip, I mean it is very difficult to try and understand the world we live in and the individual lives we live. There are too many things to comprehend, too many things to remember, too many things to pay attention to. Life is a strange thing, and the world we live in is just as strange, if not stranger. We weren't born with a life manual that would help pave our way. We eventually have to figure things out on our own. It's a game of sink or swim. Some of us sink, never learning the lessons thrown at us, or we learn how to swim and use those skills, apply them elsewhere when needed. But it's easy to say that because it's not always that simple. Some of us can have a great poker face, making people believe that you have it all figured out. But come the end of the day, we break down, facing reality, knowing that we are slowly sinking deeper. The world we live in is beyond overwhelming. Hell, I can't even comprehend half of the things that take place in my life. So, this poem more than likely summarizes my thoughts in real time. I am just a tiny insect roaming around in this big ass rotating sphere we call Earth, another thing trying to survive in this world. And I'm just lost. But moving on to the next one. This next poem is called Wishful Disaster. I wish life would take a breath and help me understand what's right or wrong. I wish time would pass me by, push me back to be last in line. I wish these tears would fall, help me take this life I can no longer bear. Tumbling down this distorted path I call a life, a task left dead in its tracks, with nothing more to show. I wish my sight was compromised, looking ahead, only dreading what will come next. I wish my voice was mute, for the screams I have wasted have fallen on deaf ears. I think I have reached the end. It's time to say goodbye. Closing my eyes, wishing life would take its breath. My dreams have died, and so have I. I don't remember when I initially wrote this poem. However, writing out this episode, like other poems, I didn't like how this one sounded. I was in the middle of typing up this poem, weaving it into the script, and I wasn't really happy with it, so I rewrote it. I had the same concept as the original. I just added more words, elaborated on some things, and reworded others. But yeah, this is the end result. So I hope you liked it. But this poem is a little, I don't know. I don't know how to describe this poem or its mood. I guess you can say it is one of those end of the line poems. Not sure where the idea or thought of this poem came from. I honestly don't remember what I was thinking about or what was going through my head when I decided to write this, but whatever it was, it must have been something pretty freaking deep, if that's even the word for it. Wishful disaster. After reading through this poem, reading it out loud, and noticing how many times the phrase "I wish" pops up, wishing disastrous things upon yourself is not something one should do. A be careful what you wish for type of scenario rings a bell. This poem wishes a lot of damning things, or maybe it's a plea for help, very desperate like. Who knows? All right, the next poem I'm going to read does not have a title, so here it goes. It's the look in her eyes, the sound of her voice, telling you she's ready to give up. Tears stream down her cheek. How much more can she take? Comforting her, reassuring her. It's not enough. She wants more. She needs more. Drowning in dead ends, running into barriers, fearing what tomorrow will bring. Will it be the end? I wrote this poem back in January of 2017. I must have been reflecting on something that was currently going on in that moment. I cannot remember what that was, but I was not in a good place when I wrote this. This poem describes a moment when someone is at their wits' end, desperate for comfort, even though they are aware that the comfort will not change a thing, nor will it ease their anxiety. There's a lack of stability, a lack of security, something that is very difficult to come by, especially during this current state. To fear a day that hasn't approached is terrifying in itself. To fear tomorrow before it happens is not a thought anyone should have. Being completely taken over by the barriers and obstacles, to have no place to run, no refuge, it's frightening. And with that, I will go on to the next poem, another one that does not have a title. I cannot imagine what it's like to be so confused. You quickly begin to lose yourself completely, tripping over thoughts, comprehending absolutely nothing. Your eyes are cold, not having a care in the world, coming to realize that you are a wandering soul, lost in limbo. This was another 2017 poem. It's quite sad to have written this poem years prior and to know that those words are still accurate today. I wrote this poem when I was obviously confused about life and the things that were occurring. I am still left confused over certain things, losing pieces of myself in the process. My thoughts are slowly losing their relevance, unable to comprehend the meaning behind those thoughts. At some point in my life where I could give two shits about what my next step should be, knowing that those steps won't take me anywhere anyways. And as the ending of the poem goes, I am just a wandering soul that is lost in limbo. It's really difficult to read poems like this and analyze them. To talk about the poems I've written, especially ones similar to this one, creates a sense of vulnerability. I know I don't have to share and read my poems with the podcast audience. I know I don't have to explain my thought process and what I go through while writing out my poems. Maybe I am doing this entire podcast all wrong, who knows? But what I do know is that I don't have to elaborate on what each poem means, or describe it, or what it reveals. I decided to take a different approach with this podcast altogether. Instead of just reading out poems, I thought I would give my audience a chance to get to know me, get to know where my head is, with my poems, and they're not just random words or random poems. Like I said, maybe I'm doing this entire podcast wrong. I'm coming up with a different approach that is totally wrong for me, but it's been long enough to maybe figure it out. I don't know, but it's something I was drawn to do. So it is what it is, as the saying goes. And with that, here is yet another poem with no title. I fear what comes next. This journey has me on my knees, begging for mercy, ready to give in, making the same mistakes and learning nothing. How can I get through this? Trembling with agony, barely moving. Surely this is not the end. I am starting to notice a pattern with the poems I chose for this episode. One word comes to mind: stuck. It seems like each poem I have read has a stuck feeling seeping through it. I know that my personal thoughts are weaved deep into each word of the poems I chose. There's definitely a theme to these poems. I'm starting to think I should have gone with a different title for this episode. Oh well. So, this poem has a desperate, I'm at the end of my rope type feel to it. I wrote this poem, like the other two before this one, back in 2017. There was so much going on that year, too much to figure out which situation I was referring to. After reading this poem, I feel a little run down. That's the feeling I get from it anyway. Very exhausting. But anyways, moving on. And again, I will read another poem that does not have a title. So here it goes. Who knew it would end this way? The look in your eyes, the tone of your voice. I knew you weren't coming back. It feels so lonely now. Spending my nights glancing through the window, hoping to see you, but I know better. The walls I built around me are stronger than before, fighting off whoever comes around. To end this pain, I must dismiss myself. I surrender. Clearly, this poem is about missing someone. And it just dawned on me that this poem could also refer to losing someone, as in passing away. However, I don't think that was the intention for this poem. But I guess you can take this poem how you see fit and apply it to wherever you need to apply it. And as always, I can't really give you an explanation on how this poem came to be because I have no clue. Assuming this poem is about a breakup, this poem is describing what this individual is feeling after the fact, wishing he or she didn't leave. The thought of them not being around anymore is saddening, hoping this person will come back, and more than likely they won't, that type of stuff. I can't say that I have been in that situation. I mean, I've been through breakups, but none that describe what this poem is talking about. But I will move on to the next poem since there is nothing else to really say about this poem. This one does have a title, and this poem is called Life's Design. Oh life, how you make me cry, with your twisted ways and shameless stare. To bargain means no mercy, a choice never being made. Cringing at the sight of you, creating a nightmare I cannot wake from. To accept what is and acknowledge the reason. None of this makes sense. How dare you push me down, not allowing me to breathe? Today, I am alive, and tomorrow I shall have my revenge. Reading this poem out loud has more power than reading it to myself. I don't remember the exact moment I put this poem together, but I can recall every single emotion that went into it. Life always has a way of bringing me down. There's always that one something that has to screw everything up. Age holds no bounds when it comes to life. It doesn't matter how long you have been on this earth. Life shows you just how much power it has, and it teaches you a lesson or two to throw you back into perspective. But just when you think that you are about to give up, something inside you takes control and seeks revenge on life's mind games, and you push back. I'll admit though, I still have yet to have this mindset on life, to throw up my middle fingers at life and prove that I am not this weakling that's going to take her beating lying down. Although I think I have done just that at times. Anyways, enough about me. This poem does have some powerful words intertwined in it. At the beginning, you almost feel as if this person is surrendering on account of defeat. And towards the latter part, this individual snaps out of that funk and pushes through like a warrior. I am here. You can't tear me down. I will beat you at your own game, type of stuff. Honestly, an attitude we all need to have during this thing we call life. Easier said than done, I know, but hey, life is full of lessons, trial and error, right? All right, so this next poem will be the last poem of today's show. This one does not have a title though. She, whose thoughts are left unspoken, aches for answers that have validity, or perhaps there is no such thing, spending her days in silence, unaware of what words to say, to sit back and watch her life spin out of control, no grip in sight. There is no end. I would be lying if I said that this poem does not have any pull on me, because it does, especially the first line. I am someone who is constantly looking for answers to things, trying to make sense of things. The answers that are found don't always bring that closure. I need to find validity in this answer because it doesn't add up. There has to be something more to this. Do all answers hold validity? In my opinion, no, they don't. The answers we come across won't always be the ones we want to find or hear. So we try and seek out more answers that will be more satisfying. But how do you explain the reasons behind someone's life not working out? How do you explain to them that when life gets out of control, you can't always fix it? Where's the validity in the answers you might give? It drives me crazy when I can't make sense of something. It just doesn't add up. Too many holes for this to be the official answer. It doesn't make sense. And with that, I am afraid this is where the show ends. To those of you who are always tuning in, and even those who are just joining in, I hope you liked what you heard and tune in next time. You can catch this and future episodes at anchor.fm/Fractured Poet. This episode of Fractured Poet was written and produced by me, Katrina Wisniewski. Music by Alternative Rock Volume 1 and Rock Electronica Volume 4 from freeplaymusic.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Fractured Poet. And as always, thanks for listening, and until next time.